All right, Thursday edition of Browns Film Breakdown. We have a fantastic show lined up with our crossover episode. Going to be talking about the Lions, figure out where they're at early in the season coming off their Monday Night Football win. Clearly feeling pretty good about themselves. But before we get to that segment for today, Behind Enemy Lines, it's me and Brad Ward. We're going to go through everything that happened in the first day, usually the busiest day of unveilings of injuries and status updates, player quotes, Joe Flacco, Swessinger, Judy talked to the media. So we will give you everything of note from time in Berea and then talk about a signing along the offensive line that they made and how the tackle position is a bit uncertain going into a big game this weekend. So it's a busy Browns Film Breakdown. We're excited to get to it. And a reminder, sponsored by the folks at FanDuel Sportsbook, where we have fantastic Thursday night parlay lined up for you guys as well that we will talk through during the show. So let's get going with the latest Browns Film Breakdown. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Browns Film Breakdown. We are here following Wednesday's session in Cleveland, which, again, very busy. Signings, injury updates, all the usual. We're here to cover it all. It's me and Brad. Brad, what's going on, dude? How are you?
What's happening? Fired up. Monster game. Guardians. Tigers.
That's the lot we're doing live. We're not doing this one live the way we did last night, but
people enjoyed that very much.
Apparently, me yelling over your talking because I couldn't help myself was pretty appealing to some folks. So I find that to be pretty funny too. But they're exciting right now, man. They're a playoff push and just making a miraculous run at things. So we will continue to talk about those guys making life on Detroit, which is funny. The Browns playing Detroit as well. They run into each other. Someone had said, would it be possible to get Ohio State, Michigan moved up? So it's like the ultimate Cleveland or Ohio versus Michigan battle going on right now. And I was like, you know what? That's not the worst idea. Ohio State hasn't had much luck in November lately. So maybe moving it up into September would help them. But no, this is the good stuff. Couple more baseball games in the series and a big one this weekend that features two defenses, man, that are pretty spectacular through the start of the year. And obviously the Lions offense is the difference there, why that team is 2-1 to this point. Right. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to learn about the Lions still, as they have gone through a pretty big transition, losing coordinators and resetting themselves. I think that was everybody's chief concern. How does Dan Campbell do this without Ben Johnson, without Aaron Glenn? Like, how does he handle that? And they're in a good spot. They seem to be a pretty similar version of what they have been throughout Dan's run there when they got things going in the right direction. So we'll talk about that. But before we do, Brad, you can update us if you can, if you have it up in front of you, the injury report before we get to anything else, because there's some funkiness worth talking about on the injury report. There's always surprises here, but quotes from Stefanski stand out in particular.
Batonio, as to be expected with his back resting, limited participant, resting.
I would think that trend is going to continue through probably most of the season.
Conklin, limited participant, elbow. That's better than DMP.
It is.
Delpit with a back. Myles Garrett with a rest, limited. That stuff, and then the Mike Hall stuff continues. DMP, Shelby Harris, DMP, hamstring.
I'll say real quick on the Mike Hall thing. So he hasn't practiced since September 17th. Stefanski, at least what they've seen, he hasn't been out there. The media has seen. Kevin says there has been no setback. From what I understand, Mike doesn't feel ready and confident in the leg. And that is the issue that's holding it up. And they can't force him to play, but I think internally there's a belief that he's close. He should be close to going. They didn't put him on IR because they thought he would be playing by week 4. Otherwise, you do that and bring him back. But they didn't do it. He doesn't feel ready to go. I mean, he's on the sideline Sunday. You watch the mic'd up with Miles. Mike is sitting next to him. He's very active and involved, but something is off here. The connection between either how he's feeling, what the team thinks he should be feeling. Kevin's saying no setbacks. Mike clearly feels like there is, by not practicing, something off here.
Yeah.
It's a weird situation. It's a weird situation that I don't know. I don't know that there's a resolution in sight right now for Mike feeling. Maybe it clicks. He wakes up one morning and feels better, but yeah, that's a concerning spot.
You can't make him play, so it's
Right.
it's the player, and I'm sure that the training staff is telling the coaching staff things, and they're looking at scans, and they're kind of like timeline wise, like, hey, we should be a little farther along, or whatever they feel. But if he's not feeling it, they're kind of at the mercy of the player here, and
Yeah.
it's just weird that felt like it was ramping up, and now we're to DMPs
Running like a week of these
consecutive.
now. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a week straight that
yeah.
he hasn't been out there. That's been strange to us. So I don't know. The Browns
I would,
don't go into detail about these things. They never have. They never will with this current front office coaching staff. So we'll play it by ear, man. It's not what you want to hear given the decision that was made ahead of the season. And I'm not saying circumstances can't change. Maybe Mike felt really good going into the year. Like I feel like a couple weeks I'll be straight, and then all of a sudden doesn't feel comfortable in it. Something feels a little grabby or something like that. And it's ultimately turns into a spot where he feels like his legs doing one thing, telling him one thing, and then it's like the doctors are looking at it and the trainers looking at it like, hey, we don't see anything structurally wrong here. So there
right.
is no technical setback, but he doesn't feel good about the leg. So that's where I think the impasse is right now between where they thought he'd be and where he is. Big shoulder shrug. But yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Most confusing part is, even if he felt like he wasn't ready, the most confusing part though is the just stopping practicing. Like,
Yeah, which would
even if he
indicate to you that
yeah,
something in his mind has set him back.
yeah,
Even if the trainers and doctors are like, "Hey, technically, we MRI'd
yeah,
it, looked at it, everything structurally looks good." That's where I think there's some confusion between the
yeah.
player with the leg attached to his body and the people looking at MRIs and scans and feeling it out. Right? That's the vibe I get. So, you know,
Same. Like, if he if he was still practicing and they were like, yeah, there's no setback, but he just didn't feel like he was ready, but he was still kind of participating physically, it would be one thing, right? Like, he
right?
doesn't feel like he's ready to go on game day yet. Okay, that's one thing, but to all in all stop practicing, that is literally the definition of a setback, I would say.
I would say semantic stuff going on here. It's really whatever you want to believe, but
Yeah.
I feel like the setback is Kevin saying there's no setback from what we understand. I think it's Mike's aptitude about it, right, and all
Yeah.
of that. And so yeah. Anyway, then I think you'd mentioned. Well, actually, I think there's probably a couple more names you still got to get to. It's not short.
Yeah, Shelby, you probably just dinged up a hamstring DMP.
Maybe he extended the arm too high on the block and
Yeah,
celebrated too hard or something.
leaped off that leg, got up there, one hand, the block god, they call him.
We'll sacrifice that hamstring for a week or two.
Yeah, yeah.
Something we can do.
Njoku knee, limited. Cedric Tillman hand and hip, limited, and Denzel Ward shoulder DMP, which is something they talked about.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah, he had a toe thing pop up in there as well, which is not what you want to hear for a guy who lives in the quick twitch universe, right? So Stefanski said they're taking it day by day with Ward, and that he should, the vibe is that he'll be fine, but you're taking it day by day. How does it respond to treatment, all of that? And then he also, he updated the Mike Hall stuff. So those are the injury stuff he specifically spoke about. And then they also signed an offensive tackle. So this is something else Kevin spoke on, calling the tackle situation pretty fluid right now, which, if the questions come up to me, if Conklin's back, who are you starting opposite Conklin on the right side? And it's like,
yeah,
I'd probably start KT Leviston right now. He blocked really well in the run game. The pass game was uneven. He's on an island a lot, not getting a ton of help, facing Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons. It's a tough ass. So I want to see more evidence from him. The run game stuff was encouraging enough that, I know what Cornelius Lucas is as a swing tackle at his age. It's not playing the greatest football right now, obviously, facing some pretty good opposing defensive lines, but that's not going to really slow down. So he's a player that you're putting out there if you need to. But if I get the choice, I'm probably going to go with the young guy to see if we can develop something there. And then Thayer Munford, who they brought in off the Patriots practice squad, and the Patriots tackle situation's healthier than it's been in years past. So it's not like you're getting some sort of insanely damaged goods here, but you are getting a practice squad player. So you do keep that in mind a little bit, but he has been active before. He had a run with Las Vegas playing some active snaps. Obviously remember him as the Maslin kid, went to Ohio State, had a nice run, a nice Ohio State career, ends up being a 7th round pick back in 2022 and found the field for like 1,000, according to PFF, 1,091 total snaps in the regular season. He did not continue on with the Raiders into this year. Obviously, rookie contract went through, so he didn't get re-signed there. He goes over and finds the practice. So he's inconsistent. I mean, if you look at season by season, his 23 season had some moments of pretty good games across the board, but I think as things wore on, he never really improved in the way I think they hoped he would improve and kind of continue to claim that spot. So his best work was the 23 season. 24 was a little bit more uneven. And, you're trying to look at what his career would be. You don't ultimately get to the place that he's a starter. Can he have a Cornelius Lucas-like situation where he's popping in and starting some games? Like he started the first 2 in last year's season for him. Then he started, I think, week 9. So it's just, again, a matter of like, what can he help you do? Is he a long-term answer at age 26? Probably not. Most of his work is at right tackle. He has some left tackle snaps in 2023, but most of his work is right tackle, 688 right tackle snaps in the NFL versus 245 left. So he's just another option, giving him another name they're trying to work through. So we talked about this when we talked about tryouts last week, Brad, that they're looking at veteran options in the tackle market. They're trying to solve things on the fly. And I couldn't feel less confident that they're taking an offensive tackle at some point in their first 3 picks of the next draft. So,
yeah.
The
tough thing, though, Jake, is no matter how tackle needy you get, everybody in the NFL, there's just not enough good offensive linemen in the NFL to go around. So whoever you're coming up with is not going to be ideal. Like there's nobody out there that's like, oh, that's a great answer to come up with in the middle of the season. If they're a great answer, they're already taken at this point when it comes to offensive line play, period.
Extremely rare to find them on the fly, somebody that can solve something for you. So yeah, they're in a spot where you're going to hope somebody can just play some more consistent football and they get a chance and they capitalize on the chance
a little bit. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a situation where the tackle position for them this year is going to be providing uneven play. So just prepare yourself for games where we're like, hey, they handled themselves well in this one. And then others where the pressure rate off the edges was astronomical and it caused a whole bunch of disruption to what they were trying to do on offense. So, we'll talk about this continually, but, to push the football downfield in the 20-plus yard range, you got to protect for near 3 seconds. And at times, that's a real challenge for them right now. So they're continuing to look at options to find the best solutions. They have a couple veterans. They've got 3 or 4 young guys now. We'll see. We'll see what they come up with, but we'll keep you up to date on that. I think there were some injuries on the Lions side, too, that we didn't get to, Brad.
Taylor Decker, DMP with a shoulder.
That's big.
This is their starting edge now, right?
Kadeem Muhammad. I think he's
Muhammad. Thank you.
He's playing good ball. He was there. A couple sacks last week. He's a good player.
Yeah, he's their starting edge opposite Hutchison, I believe, at the moment. Now, since they isn't that correct? I believe that's correct.
I think so. I haven't looked at. We'll definitely get that answer when we talk to some guests from the Lions.
I'm pretty sure when I was watching the game, they were talking about somebody they didn't bring back or whatever because they wanted to roll with more depth in him as the opposite edge or whatever. Anyways, he is your DMP with a knee. Daniel Thomas, safety, forearm DMP. Sione, not Sione Taki, but Sione Vaki, running back. groin, DMP. Derek Barnes, linebacker, limited participant with a knee. And then DJ Reed recovered that big fumble in the game on Monday night, cramping, but full participant. I don't know why that's even listed. Yeah.
So okay, that's interesting indeed.
Thanks for
the big ones
know.
are Decker and Muhammad are obviously two really important pieces for them, and we'll talk through where they're at with those guys playing, and see what happens throughout the week with keeping those injuries moving in a direction that hopefully is positive for Cleveland. Hey, our boy Andre Schmidt, your boy I should say, is the answer for special teams player of the week. That's cool. It's really cool, man. I mean, to go through the ringer of you feeling like you cost your team a game, then I had a lot of people texting me like they're cutting him, right? Like, what do you want to do? It's one game. He does bounce back really well. He's had 2 great games. Happy for the young man, right? Obviously, you don't need the story about his mom to feel some emotional attachment. It obviously helps to know more about these guys as people, what they're going through and dealing with, and all of that.
It personalizes them in a major way. For me, I was joking around about, fire every kicker that misses ever and stuff like that on our Slack, like joking around about my kicking program that 0 tolerance. I feel really bad now,
Yeah. I mean, you can't. This is transactional stuff. This is just the way of it. But it is cool. It's cool for him to get in that situation, right? Yeah, and he seems like a good dude, and
he does.
Clearly, Miles likes him. You wrote on it in the opening drive and all that stuff. So, if he could just be the kicker, there's not a reason he can't. He is a very clean, strike on the ball when he's synced up and everything. So I hope he is, man. It would be cool. And obviously the Browns would do anything to solve kicker long term, the same way they're not as desperate for a kicker as a quarterback, clearly, but they would love to get some solidification of that spot.
He's the first guy, like kicker, he has like you said, it's a very strong and kind of sweet stroke with the leg. He's the first kicker that I've ever seen you or myself even venture to comment on the mechanics of, but you went into detail on his, how he was kind of opening up his hip. And I thought that was, but not every kicker can you tell what's happening when they're kicking the ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because their mechanics are weird or they have, whatever. But his is such a clean stroke, you can kind of tell if he's going to, if it looks good or not. So.
For sure. No, it does. He seems to have synced all of that up in a really good way.
Yeah.
Which is encouraging. Just make kicks, man. That's all they want from you. And he's doing a nice job the last 2 weeks. The other one was that Carson Schwarzenegger's up for, and this is a vote, so it's going to take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
He's up for AFC Rookie of the Week with some good potential ones there too. So it's pretty packed house on that department. But love to see him there. He's continuing to work up, and obviously Mason Graham got a little love in the odds section from FanDuel, moving up in a good place for Rookie of the Year. Because the Browns are getting
up there now. Yeah,
50% of their guys taking a significant number of. The rookies are eating up a lot of snaps, man. This is great. It's what you want, especially when you feel like you're playing good ball.
Judkins is going to end up running up soon enough. He'll be running up the odds. So place your bets, folks, if you like one for a long shot. That brings me to the clip I sent you. Kind of talking about Andrew Berry, and this draft class. It's is this draft class good enough to erase some of the past, for people? Do you think? It was interesting what we were watching a clip of. Who was it? It was the guy that called the game the other day, for CBS.
Oh man, you asked me too quick. I can't remember off the top of my head.
He does radio all the time.
Yeah. The question though is good, which is basically, is this enough to save Andrew Berry's job? And I don't know if it's there, right? I don't know if he had to have a great group here in the rookie class to save his job so much, but I'll tell you, it's not hurting. And I think the real thing he's battling is public perception, Brad. So
yeah,
I think it's immensely helping people who want to look at this, I think, through a fair lens, see that he's done some good things. It all comes down to, if you got the version of Deshaun Watson you thought you're probably winning 30% more games and no one's concerned about it this far removed from the decision, because they probably go to the playoffs a couple times and there would be no discussion. But the Watson failure looms like a dark cloud over any, you're feeling good and then you're in the sunshine and you turn the corner and you're like, there's that contract, there's that failed player again. But yeah, this class is helping rewrite some narrative stuff. We're 3 weeks in, and I'm always very cautious to be like, look at how unbelievable this is. The thing about the NFL is it's 1 game, 6 days off, 1 game, 6. So everybody wants to draw massive conclusions from small sample sizes, and I'm always nervous about that. But what you can only do is talk about what's happened, and it's a good group. It's clearly going to be a group that helps contribute across multiple position groups and has a potential to have franchise-changing players at tight end, linebacker, running back, right? I think what this class is ultimately going to be, and I've said this to you on the show, and I've said it on other shows too, is do they get if the quarterback can also come from this group, if Dylan Gabriel can be some form of an answer, that would be where the class goes from really, really good to like this change the course of the Cleveland Browns, this group here. So we'll see. I'm super optimistic about it, and I think it's definitely helping the public perception of Barry that could use a little PR in the good direction, right?
It was Ross Tucker.
That's right.
But he was going on saying that, with recency bias, and people tend to, but how hard would it be for Jimmy Haslam to look out? His point was, you're picking a quarterback next year, right? Yeah. And you have this track record of Andrew Berry, but he just nailed the last draft. The Browns didn't, have an extra pick the next year. They have all these rookies contributing, and you're like, wow, Browns had the best draft of anybody in the NFL. But I'm going to fire him and go to somebody else to pick my quarterback of the future. Like that would be that'd be bold. It'd be tough coming off of this
It'd be
class,
pretty strange. Yeah,
right?
It would be. It would. Every day that this rookie class provides more stability is going to help Andrew's case. Yeah. I think that it could have easily brought him back again, even if the class was below average and it just didn't have answers yet, because it's just 1 year in a 4-year rookie contract. But this is all they're helping. They're helping Andrew, and I think Andrew did a nice job. And if we got to be balanced in that approach, right? If we're gonna give Andrew credit for this class, probably some people really chipped into those choices. We can't just say, hey, on misses, this was clearly a situation where Jim Schwartz wanted Siaki Ika, right? That's not Andrew's choice. He gave that to him, and somebody gave him the choice for another player, right? Or David Bell, or he's just passing those out. Every failed one you can't put off, right? If you're going to give him credit for all the hits, he's going to take some blame for the missing. I think you can get into that world pretty quickly to justify stuff. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with how the Browns are drafting. I didn't before they took this class, and I remain fine with how they're drafting at this point, their process.
And I think their process with UDFAs is probably above average around the league, certainly at this point.
I would agree with that too. So it's a good talking point. I think we'll just, like what we wrote about in the opening drive this week, we're just going to keep talking about that group, the rookie group, because it's fun. It's fun to have rookies that you don't know where the ceiling lands and how far they get up toward that ceiling and how far they grow across, compared to other guys in the NFL. That's the fun stuff. The first year of players is, if they're showing flashing potential, that's like, man, what could they be? Right. Yeah. This is what they could be. That's the exciting stuff that you like to cover. So love it a lot. All right, let's do, on the way out, Brad, hit them with the parlay and the FanDuel parlay, and we'll close this one up.
Oh, you know it. All right. FanDuel, as always, Thursday night football, popular 50% boost. The boosts are killer at FanDuel, so you got to get over there, take advantage of this. But here it is, Browns film breakdown, Thursday night parlay. We're going Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown. By the way, it's Seahawks and Cardinals. And
pretty
it's
boring game, I think.
Yeah. It'll be a doozy. But Kenneth Walker, anytime touchdown is the first leg. I love JSN to get in as well. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, anytime touchdown. I went Trey McBride, alt line of 50 yards. His number's at like 63, but we're going to dumb that down to 50. He's been clearing that pretty easily. He's getting like 7+ targets a game. Torrey Orton, over 2.5 receptions. He's averaging.
Dynamic.
Yeah.
Just talking about rookies, Andrew should have drafted him. I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. I did love him.
Yeah, me too.
Clearly didn't want to go wide receiver in this draft for, whatever reason, but that's a fun player. He's having a nice year, man.
He is. He's getting about 4 targets a game, I looked, and the line at 2.5 receptions, he's cruised over that the last couple weeks. And for some reason, it's like plus 140. So we're throwing that in there to get, that's the big one there. And then Marv Harrison, dumbed down really far because I don't trust him to get very high. So we're going over 30 yards for Marv. I think he clears that. So
rough week for Marv last week. Did you see his performance? And just got some
nice catch on that interference play where he just came out of nowhere. I saw some people, Jake, interestingly enough, criticizing him putting on the mass in the upper body. They're like, why did he do that? Well, I'm like, well, I mean,
I don't know. I don't know that that's prohibiting him from being the player he could be. He's just having some issues where he seems less twitchy than in college, and this is where you never know how these are going to work out, and it is not bearing the fruit you would have expected. I'm not going to comment on it too deeply, other than I've watched him drop a couple throws that he had no business dropping. One of them, he's like jumping on a ball he doesn't need to jump on.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, they need him to be good. They spent such a high pick on him. You need him to be a similar player to Neighbors and the others of that group. So I hope it turns around for him, because one of my more enjoyable college football watching experiences with that guy. He was so special at Ohio State.
Yeah. But we're going to throw him in as leg 5 here and just get him to 30 yards. I think his number's at like 50 or 40 some. 30, I think he can clear that pretty easily. So one more time, Kenneth Walker anytime, JSN anytime, Trey McBride over 50, Torrey Orton over 2.5, and Marv Harrison over 30 yards gets you to about 23 to 1 odds. With the 50% boost gets you to 35, so $10 wins you $350 over at FanDuel.
There you go. We'll make a graphic of this so you don't have to write down Brad's notes, which I think this one's going to hit. I feel good about it. So
I do too.
Graphics coming. Make sure to get into FanDuel. Take advantage of those boosts. We appreciate you being here. We will have a mailbag episode for you on Friday. So get your questions ready if you're a subscriber, or if you want to come over and join us on a subscription basis. You get those questions answered every Friday. So keep your eye out for that, if you will. And then we'll, be here over the weekend to do our college football preview. I'm going to get Corey Kennan on, talk about how the quarterbacks are playing at the college level. We'll do a little bit more of a deep dive on that. And then we'll have some other little tidbits to talk about as well heading into the weekend. It's a great opportunity against these guys, and we're going to learn more about the Lions coming up after the break. So thanks to you guys for stopping by. Make sure to come over and, like I said, join us on a subscriber basis. I think you'll love it. And shout out to FanDuel and Monfredi Dental for sponsoring everything we do on this podcast. So again, thanks for being here. We'll catch you either tomorrow, or we'll be right back after this break.